Hello everybody, today's video is about the changes to Portugal's new citizenship and the reform they've made on that. Paul Carrere and Matt Penfold here from Fiduciary Wealth, and just a very short video today talking about this. This is a video actually somebody asked us to prepare because they've made some changes to the regime in Portugal, and you know we're adding more and more content, so happy to take requests from people who want a few of the areas we can cover on. So there's seemingly changes in a lot of countries now, Paul. I think there's a lot of relocation. This is based on kind of, I think, lifestyle and kind of tax changes, a bit of both, and clearly that kind of puts pressure on certain countries, and Portugal is one of them. We saw the removal of the NHR system as we knew it, changes to the golden visa investment eligibility, and this is the most recent one, so changes to their citizenship rules. So can you kind of sum up what's changed, Paul?
Sure. I mean, it's politically driven, as you rightly point out. I think there's a lot of social unrest, and you know that foreigners are driving the price of property. That's when they that they pay too little tax, that they stop the NHR, that the property prices are spiraling. So you couldn't get residency by real estate investment. So then they had the Golden Visa Fund. Now it's too easy to become citizen of Portugal. So effectively, what they've done is they've tightened up the rules. So I think in the past, I think citizenship would be granted after 5 years of permanent residency. They've increased that to 7 years for EU nationals and other grouped nationals within that are deemed, you know, quasi-EU nationals, and then 10 years for all others. So they have increased it. It would appear that it's a marginal increase in the eligibility criteria for citizenship, but in actual fact, the biggest change is almost less makes less headlines. But I think it's important because whereas before your timeline to citizenship started when you submitted the application for residency, now it starts when the residency permit is issued, not submitted. Now, I think it's well documented that there's there's a massive tailback with processing residency, and I've read somewhere that it could be up to 4 years. I think I've seen. So there's a massive delay. So essentially, the residency clock is set back by 2 to 3 years. So when we say, you know, within, let's say for other EU nationals or other countries, when we say 7 is probably 10. And when we say 10, it's probably 13 years before you can obtain Portuguese citizenship subject to all the eligibility criteria that applied before. So it's a tightening up. As I said, there's growing political pressure to tighten nationality, to make the immigration frameworks a bit more robust. Portugal has been flavor of the decade. A lot of Americans coming into Portugal, a lot of other EU nationals, Brits as well, find it particularly attractive because of I think it's called the Windsor Agreement. You know, Portugal has been has the longest friendship and agreement as allies with Portugal. So, and the Portuguese speak perfect English, so it does attract a lot of Americans, a lot of English. It's a fabulous country. Certain areas have a very low cost of living, so naturally there's been a massive influx of new residents, and I think a lot of countries want to protect their national identity, and it's a way of tightening it up, especially with citizenship. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
they have to be long-term residents, and um, they have to be loyal to Portugal. They have to be integrated into the community. So yes, it's under some political pressure. Um, countries are reforming their immigration policies, and um, Portugal is no different. They're tightening their naturalization requirements in light of developments in the Western world, and while preserving the pathways, they're just making it a bit more awkward than in the past.
Yeah. I mean, I personally don't have a huge issue with this one, Paul. I think you kind of said at the start there's been a bit of controversy over it. Um, and I think for people who were in the process and they basically said, okay, you're in the process, or now the new rules apply to you. That's a bit of a kicker, really, isn't it? But if I'm going to look at it from ourselves and a selfish point of view, I don't think many Brits are really looking at citizenship when they go to Portugal. So, the residency pathways stay the same. Um, and that can continue. And I think the 10 years, and I know it's an extended 10 years because of the residency process, but the 10 years is in line with a lot of countries as well. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Portugal has to do what it needs to kind of protect, their own residents and citizenship. So, respect them for that. So I think for Brits, especially relocating, is there a huge amount of difference? No. When it comes to residency, is there a big change? No. Obviously, those who were maybe seeking citizenship, okay, that does make a difference, but it's just an extension.
No, I would agree with you. I think I share your views. I think by and large, the changes are cosmetic to appeal to the local population, I would imagine, and to ease the pressure on the ruling government, I would presume. Um, and people say it's a substantive shift in Portugal's nationality policy. Not really. I mean, they're tinkering on the edges to appeal to voters, but at the same time, not make it more difficult, because I already made the mistake of doing away with NHR. I think that was a mistake. Um, but I think what is below the headlines is um, the fact that it's taking so long to process residency, and that citizenship doesn't start on submission, but when residency has been granted. And I think what's particularly annoying to British nationals moving to Portugal is the tailbacks, you know, 2 to 3 years, and the government agencies are not responsive. They cannot process the cases fast enough. They don't put more resources into it to turn things around faster. The communications, I think that's probably more of an issue than, as you rightly say, than citizenship. But given the expected longer timelines and the tailbacks, again, the message has to be clear here. You have to plan early, and you have to get the ball rolling, because we never know what comes next. There's so much geopolitical tension, and all the countries are tightening up the requirements. The bigger blocks are forcing countries in the Caribbean to change their permanent residency if they want uh, countries in the Caribbean to have unfettered access to Schengen. So yes, we can do it, but you have to tighten your rules, and everyone is, you know, um, using their political strength to try and force smaller nations into complying. Um, so one never knows what's around the corner. I think plan early, speak to a relocation expert that can really guide you through the whole process from A to Z, and can do it, and is a reliable and trustworthy partner. I think that's probably the message I would say.
No, absolutely. It's a good point actually because we've seen it over the years, changes in Spain, Portugal, Gibraltar going through the process at the moment. And, I know we both spoke to people who said, oh, I was looking to relocate and then I didn't. And now things have changed and what I can do. Well, once things have changed, maybe that door closes. So for those serious about relocating, I know life gets in the way, but I think the procrastination can be a bit of a killer for some people. So yeah, and if you're working with a professional firm like ourselves, then it can navigate that process easier and quicker and avoid those issues that may come up. So that's great. So my regular request and comment to everyone watching this video, we're putting together a lot of content. Make sure that you subscribe to our content. Also, like your favorite videos. Feel free to add a comment, and we're happy to produce more content that's specific to particular people. Or if you want our help with relocation, your financial affairs and an expat, get in touch with Paul and I. But for now, anything to add, Paul?
No, nothing.
Perfect. Wonderful. So thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Bye for now.